Jon Snow returns. What the Game of Thrones spin-off will reveal. In the frozen silence beyond the wall, a lone figure marches onward. He once was the Bastard of Winterfell, then Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, then the reluctant king in the north, and then nothing. Banished to the edge of the world, exiled from the realm he bled for. But what if that wasn't the end? What if Jon Snow's true story is only just beginning? Welcome back to the channel where legends live on and the lore never dies. Today, we dive deep into everything we know and everything we might see in HBO's Jon Snow spin-off series, the long-awaited sequel to Game of Thrones. Get ready to venture beyond the wall once again as we uncover what this new chapter in the saga of ice and fire could reveal. What we know about the Jon Snow spin-off. Let's begin with the facts. In mid-2022, reports broke that HBO was developing a Game of Thrones sequel series centered on Jon Snow. It wasn't just a rumor, it was confirmed. Even more surprising, Kit Harington himself was involved in developing the show. The working title? Simply, Snow. No dragons. No kingdoms. Just snow. But this wasn't just a studio idea. It was Kit Harington's own pitch. After years of trying to distance himself from the character, he returned with a vision. A continuation of Jon's story beyond the wall. George R.R. Martin later confirmed on his blog that the series was indeed in early development and that Harington brought his own team of writers and showrunners to HBO to explore the project. So what does this mean? It means HBO isn't just revisiting Westeros. It's taking us back through Jon's eyes to tell a story of redemption, identity, and the harsh cost of destiny. Let's recap where Jon Snow was when we last saw him. After killing Daenerys to prevent further bloodshed, Jon was imprisoned, judged by his allies and enemies alike. In a bittersweet compromise, he was spared execution, but sentenced to return to the Night's Watch. But with no Night King, no White Walkers, and the wall in ruins, what exactly does the Night's Watch even do anymore? That's the first mystery the spin-off will need to solve. And then came the final scene. Jon heading north of the wall with Tormund Giantsbane and the Free Folk. No crown. No war. Just snow. And yet, his story felt unfinished. And maybe that was the point. Jon's emotional state. Why he's broken. Jon Snow is a man who's lost everything. He lost Ygritte, his first love, to an arrow. He lost Robb, Catelyn, Rickon, and Ned, his family, one by one. He was stabbed by his own brothers in the Night's Watch. He gave up the crown, died and was resurrected, only to be used, again and again, as a tool for others' ambitions. And then came Daenerys. He loved her. He believed in her. But in the end, he had to kill her. That's not something you just walk away from. So when we think of the Jon Snow sequel, we're not talking about the rise of a hero. We're talking about a man haunted by choices, searching for peace in a world where he no longer belongs. Imagine him waking each day in the frost-bitten wilderness, struggling to find meaning in exile. The show could begin with silence, stillness, and scars, both emotional and physical. Because while Jon may be a Targaryen by blood, in his heart, he's always been a Stark. And the North remembers. The spin-off could explore themes like post-traumatic stress, survivor's guilt, and the price of leadership. Jon may no longer fight wars for crowns, but the war inside him rages on. Will he find forgiveness? Or will he fall into despair? Who might return? A hero's journey is shaped by those around him. So who could cross paths with Jon Snow in the sequel? Let's break down the possibilities. 1. Tormund Giantsbane. Tormund is the most obvious returning character. He left with Jon at the end of Game of Thrones, and their friendship is beloved by fans. Tormund could serve as comic relief and moral compass. 2. Ghost. Yes, Jon's loyal direwolf survived. And now that budget isn't a limiting factor, fans can finally get the Ghost screen time they've begged for. 3. Arya Stark. Arya sailed west of Westeros. But what if she returns years later, seeking her brother? Her connection with Jon runs deep. They were each other's soulmates in the Stark family. A reunion could be emotional and crucial. 4. Sansa Stark. As queen in the north, Sansa is now a major political player. She may need Jon's help, or view him as a threat to the realm's stability. Could she send envoys? Or come herself? 5. Bran the Broken. Bran sits on the Iron Throne, or rather, what remains of it. Would the king beyond the wall remain curious about his cousin? Could Bran appear in visions or send ravens with a message from fate itself? 6. Melisandre's legacy. The Red Priestess is dead, but the Lord of Light's followers remain. Might new followers approach Jon, seeing him as Aza Ahai reborn? The prophecy remains unanswered. 7. New villains. The biggest question: who's the antagonist? With the Night King gone, the show must forge new threats. Bandits? Rogue Northern Lords? Magic unbound? Or a new darkness rising in the far north? Some rumors even suggest a new supernatural threat, something older than the White Walkers, something that Jon's bloodline may be connected to. If HBO brings back even a handful of these characters, and adds a compelling new cast, the series could soar. Thematic depth, identity, legacy, and redemption. At its core, Snow isn't just about survival. It's about identity. Jon was told his whole life that he was a bastard. Then he found out he was Aegon Targaryen, heir to the Iron Throne. But that truth destroyed everything he loved. He rejected the crown. He killed the queen. Now, he must decide, who is he really? Is he a Stark? A Targaryen? A wildling? A ghost of war? That internal conflict is fertile ground for powerful storytelling. He may begin by rejecting both names. Maybe he simply calls himself Snow. But identity is never static. Over time, he might be drawn into conflicts that force him to choose. He might save innocents from warlords, defend the free folk from southern oppression, or discover ancient prophecies tied to his blood. Imagine an arc where Jon realizes he can't run from who he is. That leadership isn't about birthright, but choice. The show could also revisit the idea of legacy. What does Jon leave behind? What stories will they tell of him? Maybe he becomes a legend among the free folk. Or maybe he vanishes into myth, like a northern Aragorn. And finally, redemption. Can Jon forgive himself? Can he find peace, not just for Westeros, but for his own soul? The answer might lie where it all began, in the snow, the world beyond the wall. Game of Thrones barely scratched the surface of what lies beyond the wall. This sequel has the perfect opportunity to expand the world in bold, magical ways. We could explore ancient ruins, new tribes of free folk, lost cities swallowed by snow. Legend speaks of the land of always winter, where the White Walkers once came from. But what else lurks there? Thanks for joining us on this epic journey through snow and shadow. If you're as excited for Jon Snow's return as we are, hit that like button, subscribe for more lore-rich deep dives, and let us know in the comments. What do you want to see in the Jon Snow spin-off? More dragons? A new White Walker threat? Arya returning from the west? This is just the beginning. And as always, the North remembers. Until next time, stay warm out there. And remember, you know nothing, Jon Snow.